What's up, guys? It's Kyle here, and today I'm bringing you our second deck profile. This time for My Hero Academia format in Universus, and today we will be going over Hanta Sero. This guy is awesome. I have been loving playing him. I got the initial idea for this build from a buddy of mine. Shout out to Barrett Bryant, our 2018 national champion. I've been over time, as I've been testing this deck with my locals, I've been making my own adjustments to the build and really trying to refine the build and make it all it can be. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So Hanta, what is he? He's a six-hander, 27 life. We're playing him under the order symbol today. He changes the zones of attacks. That's his whole thing. He likes to swap around zones and make it difficult for the opponent to completely block any attack that you put at them. And this deck tries as hard as it can to take advantage of that. On top of that, every time the opponent would partially block an attack, you get to draw 2 cards. That ability is absolutely insane. It makes it so that even if your opponent could fully block it, they kind of are debating whether or not they should fully block it. So it just helps you push damage that much more. Or even on occasion, it does actually get you to draw 2 cards, which is really, really strong. And then if the opponent fully blocks an attack, once per game, you can look at your opponent's hand and discard a card of your choice from it. That ability is extremely nuts. You can use it offensively to take perfect blocks out of the opponent's hand. Generally, I like to use it defensively, though, because it allows me to take the last attack out of the opponent's hand that would have set up their chain, or take their bomb out of their hand so that they can't kill me, that kind of thing. All around, the character's just insanely good. He is, I would have to say, he's definitely going to be a high floor character. He doesn't really have much going bad for him. And that's what makes him so great. I think he's going to be one of those characters that I don't hear a ton of people talking about him. But I think he's definitely up there with the likes of Bakugo, Bakugo and maybe even Kirishima Eraserhead. I think he's very, very strong. So that's the character. Moving on to the attack lineup. First off, we have 4 copies of his ultra rare Tape Swing. This card is nuts. A lot of people don't like it because it checks a 2. Honestly, the 2 really isn't that bad. You build so much in this format that it doesn't really matter. So it can't be fully blocked statically on the card. That already is insane. It just says this is a guaranteed 3 damage unless your opponent has the one specific counter that exists in the format to it. All around, just a nutty card. And then it also says respond after the zone of this attack is changed. Increase the damage of this attack by 2. Even better, you're pushing more damage. Minimum 8 damage with this card under Hanta. With 4 damage if they block. And you get to draw 2 if they block, which is insanely good. And then it also says enhance discard of momentum. Change the zone of this attack. Playable as many times, playable as much as you want during the enhanced step, whatever. Playable any number of times during the enhanced step. Yeah, the card is crazy good. If you can generate a ton of momentum, I mean, this card can blow people out. And the nice part is, this card isn't hit by one of the hardest counters for a lot of decks in this format. It's not hit by Short Circuit, which is really, really good because it's a charge attack. So all around, just a super strong card that you just get to abuse and forces damage through, which is really what this deck is going to be about, forcing your damage through. Next up, 4 copies of his Throw. Speaking of forcing damage through, it's got Stun 1, very strong. Throw, obviously. And if it's not blocked, you get to commit one of your rival's foundations. It makes your opponent want to waste a block zone that they could have used on something else on this card, which is really, really good, because then your opponent's not going to have blocks for some of your kill cards potentially later. Or it allows you to tap down your opponent's most annoying answer to what you're doing, which is also extremely good. And then it also has a Deadlock Enhance for the few games where that comes up. You add 2 of your rival's foundations to the bottom of their deck, so you debuild them too, of your choice. That is extremely powerful. Obviously, debuilding alone, let alone throwing the cards on the bottom of the deck, that's just extremely powerful. So, 4 copies of his Throw. His Throw is crazy good. Next up, 4 copies of Rapid Tape Strike. This card is also really, really good in him. So it says, commit a foundation. This attack can't be blocked by mids. You make it a mid with Hanta, and then it can't be fully blocked, thus forcing more damage through. And then you can also commit a foundation. If this attack is not blocked, your rival discards a card. So this is just a really good card to drop towards the beginning of a chain to force block zones out of the opponent's hand. Because either they're going to attempt to half block this, in which case you're going to draw more, or they're just going to not take all the damage, and then they have to discard a card. The card is phenomenal. It's insanely good in him. So 4 of this. And next up, 4 copies of Electric Surge. This card is extremely powerful, especially in this format. I've been playing several decks that have been abusing Electric Surge, and yeah, it's what can I say? It is just powerful. It goes face up to the momentum when it goes to the momentum, and then it says Enhance Momentum Flip. Add the top card of your deck to your momentum face down. You got a couple of cards in here that you can just absolutely abuse this ability with. And so it's just very strong. And once again, if you haven't used your once per game, I mean, you can try to use that to bait your opponent into not blocking this attack or off blocking it so that it can go in. But you have other ways to get it into momentum in this deck. Otherwise, obviously, you wouldn't be running it. And then it also discards a momentum for 3 damage. That only comes up on occasion. When it does come up, I mean, you're probably winning the game. But it is very good. So, 4 copies of that. And last but certainly not least, 3 copies of Recipro Burst. This card is nuts in this deck. This deck is averaging towards turn 3, 5, 6 momentum. And, you know, an extra plus 12 speed, plus the stun 1, so 13 speed, which turns into 13 damage in this deck, is no joke. This card is extremely powerful. It can kill people out of nowhere. The only issue really with this card is that it gets hit by more things than Tape Swing, but you do have ways to deal with the counters to it. You're So Obvious, obviously, and Short Circuit are definitely going to be struggles for this deck, but luckily you do have a couple of options to deal with both of those cards. And that is the attack lineup. Now we're going to move on to the foundation lineup. So first of all, 4 copies of Charged Up. This card, I think, is going to become a meta staple. It's extremely powerful, especially with Electric Surge. It just gives you free momentum. every time you deal damage. And in a deck that is designed to force damage through, this card is insane. It allows you to set up your tape swing and your reciprocal burst turns, a couple of your foundations. It gives you access to their abilities. It's just all around a really strong card. So 4 copies of Charged Up. Next up, 4 copies of Heroic Lineage. This card is... yeah, I keep saying stuff is nuts, but these cards are very, very strong. So this card says respond commit after your rival's attack receives a damage buff, -3 speed. That's a -3 is a really strong number. It allows you to just it allows you to get high speed attacks into a zone where they can be blocked, which is what it's all about. And then it also says respond commit after your attack receives a speed bonus. It gets +2 damage. That doesn't come up very often. It can, but it does not come up super often. Generally, you're using this defensively. So 4 copies of that. And then 4 copies of Natural Leader. This card's really good in this deck, oddly enough. Because you can change the zones, any cards that are not mid zones or kicks, you can just change it to a mid. And then you can commit it for 2 speed, which more speed just helps you force blocks through and force your opponent to tap down even more. And then its first enhance also is not bad. First enhance, commit, choose 1 rival foundation. Abilities on it cannot be played for this enhanced step. I mean, this is a 4 of main board counter to You're So Obvious and Short Circuit, right? This card is very, very powerful and just helps you deal with your biggest problems in the format. And for that reason alone, I'm running 4 of it. Sorry, and Wall Cling. Wall Cling is another problem because it can stop the force damage. Next up, 2 copies of Fast Thinking. This just allows you to change your zones a little bit more and gives you a speed and damage buff to all of your attacks. It's a very good card that just helps extend your strategy a little more. So for that reason, 2 of it, even though it's unique. 2 Passing the Torch. If I could find room for 4, I would play 4, but this deck is tight, and you don't really want to just add more cards into this build, because it is a more aggressive build. You want to keep your count a little lower. But 2 of it does totally fine. You're not really ever going to be getting rid of your entire hand, for the most part, so you don't really have much of a need to... Sorry, computer goofing around. So you don't really have much of a need to run a bunch of copies of this. But commit, draw a card is still always good. So 2 copies of Passing the Torch. 2 copies of one of our hard counters, Short Circuit. This card's very, very powerful, obviously. It counters a lot of decks in the meta. Yeah, not much else I can say. It's just a really strong counter card that can help save your life on occasion. So 2 copies of that. 1 copy of Sticky Balls. One of my favorite foundations in the meta. Don't see too many people playing it. I don't know why. The card's great. Flip, stuff a card from the top of the opponent's discard into their pool, which is always really good. And then enhance, commit, -4 speed to a non-ranged attack, which is like a majority of the meta. The card is insanely powerful, so 1 copy of that. And last but not least in the main board, 1 copy of Shock Treatment. This card is, once again, very, very good. Enhance your attack, discard a momentum, commit 1 rival foundation. So you get to commit the most annoying thing on their board. It's gone now. That is super important because you can use it to tap down things like Wall Cling, You're So Obvious, Short Circuit. All of these cards that I've been saying throughout the video are a problem for this deck. This card alone stops those cards. So for one copy of that in the main board for that reason. Also, it says Enhance, Destroy, Commit one Rival Foundation. So it allows you to enhance, commit one down of your choice, and then destroy it, commit one down of your choice. This card, it solves your problems. It really does. And for that reason, one copy of it in the main board. Alright, and the last part of the main board, our spam foundations. 4 copies of tape. As I said in the previous Zhanghua video, tape is a meta-defining card. It is an extremely powerful card. It gives you an extra thing that allows you to change zones of your attacks, but it also changes the zone of the opponent's attack to the best zone in the game, mid-block zone. So you can full block with your mids, which is very strong. And it reduces speed, which is always good. So 4 copies of tape. 4 copies of Calling for Backup. This card is also very good. Enhance, flip, draw a card. If this was not the first enhance played this enhance step, discard a card. It's just a little bit of an extra draw engine on a spam, which is always really good. And it can filter on occasion when you need it to. I have used it many times to put shock treatment into my discard pile when I need it there for charged up. So 4 copies of this. 4 copies of Gotcha. This card works really well with several of the cards in your deck because you have a couple of different cards that say commit a foundation, do a thing, and when you do, you can give plus or minus speed, which is always nice. Plus, it's okay stun hate for that incremental stun that does exist in MHA format, including it in your deck. Just all around a solid spam, and it's a good 2 low block. And the last card in the deck, 4 copies of Requesting Assistance. It allows you to extend your turns a little more. Those turns when you hit a bad check, you can flip it if you have momentum to untap some cards and just extend a little more. Or even you can use it aggressively. You can use it to enhance. Say you committed your ETA Foundation, whatever it's called, to shut down an opponent's You're So Obvious. You can then flip this so that you can untap the ETA Foundation and commit it to give 2 speed to your attack. The card's just very, very strong. Enough said. So 4 copies of that. And that is the main board. Now we'll be moving on to the sideboard. I find sideboards to be a little limited in this format just because of the card pool. So a lot of times they look very similar, I find, when I'm building stuff. But here it is. So 4 copies of Bonds of Friendship. It's just all around a good card. It checks a 6. It's a spam. 1 high block. And then it hurts Furies. It reduces the damage of Fury attacks, which there's a lot of good Fury attacks and good Fury decks in this format. So 4 Bonds of Friendship, I think, is a very solid choice in the sideboard. 3 copies of Fulfilled My Duty. Honestly, this is a flex spot. I wasn't really sure what to put for these last 3 cards because the card pool is so limited. So I put this in for decks where I feel like they're playing long enhanced strings. Because I can use them to just end their enhanced strings. So that they can't abuse whatever they're trying to abuse. So 3 copies of Fulfilled My Duty. 2 more copies of Short Circuit, an extra low block if you need it, and when it's going to counter things really hard, you can slap it into the deck. All around, just a great card, so the other 2 copies are in here. And last but not least, 1 more Shock Treatment for those matchups when you're fighting You're So Obvious, Short Circuit, or Wall Cling. This card can be a godsend, so having a second copy of it can just help you see it that much more. So we are running a second copy in the sideboard. Alright guys, well, thanks for watching. Again, I'm Kyle, and this is Build 3 Pass. Yeah, I've named the channel now. Please rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks. Bye.